hell am I?
For as niche as the Star Ocean franchise is, especially when compared to the heavy hitters of Square Enix's catalog, Star Ocean's second story has always remained one of my most beloved JRPGs. Initially launching for the original PlayStation before seeing an enhanced PSP release, fans and newcomers can now look forward to an entirely new version of this classic, titled Star Ocean: The Second Story R.
Seems like a fight is in order.
Be careful! Take double slash! Double!
Featuring an utterly redefined presentation akin to modern HD 2D efforts from the developer, like Octopath Traveler and the ever-elusive Dragon Quest III Remake, Star Ocean: The Second Story R already stood out due to its nature as an action game. Before playing it and seeing it in person ourselves, we were equally excited yet hesitant about this bold new direction. But now, we can't be more exhilarated for this renewed entry. Players can choose between two selectable protagonists, Claude and Rena, akin to the recently released Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Claude is a pan-galactic Federation officer and son of the legendary Ronix Kenny, causing him to have internal strife regarding his identity. During a mission, Claude's ego gets the best of him as he's transported to an underdeveloped planet and spotted by Rena, confusing him for the hero of light. One of the more central appeals of Star Ocean is the melding of sci-fi and fantasy, with the contrasts between Claude and Rena making themselves readily apparent right from the outset. Further, this new choice of protagonist allows players to choose who embodies their desired state of immersion, with the newcomers perhaps better outfitted for the perspective of Rena, a girl ignorant of what laid beyond her daily perceptions. Both are endearing in their own ways, with Claude being my preferred pick, at least as a fan of the series with knowledge of his lineage. Playing the opening segments of the game with this brand new perspective was honestly a pretty surreal experience, as it, with no exaggeration, felt like an entirely new title altogether. Of course, the environment made an impression, but so did the new character portraits. In all honesty, even though Star Ocean: The Second Story has had different art styles from the character portraits, the ones found in Second Story R look like the definitive iterations. Even from the little I've seen, each character's depiction is far less typical anime and more distinctive with stark shading. As for gameplay, Star Ocean: The Second Story R feels entirely different from the previous releases, while we haven't played enough to form a solid grasp on the ins and outs of combat. It's definitely a shift. Speed is way more emphasized, with character switching making the pace of battles far swifter than one would expect. I wouldn't describe these alterations as seamless, like what we saw in The Divine Force, but it will undoubtedly aid newcomers yearning for a faster-paced JRPG. I can't comment on the challenge level, but fans should just be open-minded about a new-feeling gameplay loop. For such an iconic entry in the franchise, I'm glad it's receiving this treatment, and I'm hoping these favorable impressions of combat and presentation remain throughout the entire experience. This truly is a game that will be new for veterans and newcomers alike. Star Ocean: The Second Story R is coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam on November 2nd, 2023. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.